Today, we are covering a topic that is near and dear to my heart. We're talking about B School. Now, I know you're like, well, Crystal, this is a podcast about content and podcasting and marketing and strategy. Why are we talking about B School and what the heck is B School? So I took this program in 2019. It is B School with Marie Forleo, if you've never heard of it. And it was actually in February. Like I have the whole timeline because I've been planning this episode, really excited about it. But that was when I made a decision that literally changed everything about my business. Everything. Because before then, I didn't really have a business. I really didn't. I was just like, in the throw the spaghetti against the wall stage. I was kind of blogging, kind of trying to grow my email list. I had done some public speaking, which we can chat about that. But to be honest, I was just terrified. Like, what the heck am I actually doing? And the initial hesitation was investing in B School because it was a lot of money. Okay. Like for a stay at home mom, I'd just been a stay at home mom. I just started my podcast the year before. I didn't have much to invest, like money wise, and that felt like a lot of pressure to just make this work. So, in this entire episode today, I'm really going to break down exactly to the T how B School helped me shift my mindset, scale my business in ways that I hadn't really even thought about, and really ultimately build the brand and the revenue streams that I have today. Because if I wouldn't have taken those steps back in the day, then we would not be here. So if you're on the fence about B School, you've taken B School, then I'm going to take you down just sharing my whole story, and hopefully you can relate to this as well. And I would love to hear because I know we have several B School alumni in this community. If you're watching on YouTube, let us know in the comments. If you're listening on the podcast, like send me a DM on Instagram. Like I want to know your story too, because it's been something that's been fundamental in helping me in my business. And I can't believe it's been 6 years since I originally signed up. And I have so much of my journey to share with you today. So we're going to do some rewinding. We're going to go back through the archives and talk about the different things that have happened along the way, the milestones that have been achieved, but also the mindset that has happened since I joined. So let's get right to it. Hello and welcome back. Crystal here. I am your podcast coach and content strategist. And like I said, we have a fun topic today because we're doing things a little bit differently. We're talking about B School, which if you've heard me talk to Marie Forleo, we've had her on the podcast before, which again is so crazy. Again, if you would have told me 6 years ago, you are going to interview Marie Forleo, you're going to have Amy Porterfield on this podcast, you're going to have these industry titans come on to your show, your little bitty baby show that you just started, that you have no idea what you're doing, I would have said, yeah, right. That's not happening. But this episode today is really talking about where I was before I joined. Of course, I'm like really shouting from the rooftops. I'm a proud affiliate for B School, and we're getting really close to enrollment when this episode goes live. And I want to share my journey because it is one of those programs that is pivotal in the success of my business and where I am today. And that's why I created this whole episode today, as well as some other fun things I'm going to share behind the scenes that we've just been doing for the last few years. And I'm just really excited to talk about it. So let's dive in. No more like talking about what we're going to talk about. Let's just get to it. The first thing that I want to talk about is why I enrolled. Why did you do this, Crystal, right? Like, why was this the thing that you thought was going to help you? But for me, it was really the search for clarity. I've already mentioned this before, and I've said it a million times. I started my whole journey blogging, and I was a terrible blogger. Okay. Like I have no problem calling myself out. Like I was not a great blogger. I was not a great writer. I took this blogging course in 2018, and it was fantastic. It was a fantastic blogging course. It showed me all the little pieces of how to put a website together, how to write blog posts. But at the end of the day, I was like, oh, I'm not a blogger. I'm not a blogger because what I started doing was dictating, like I'd go into Google Docs and turn on voice typing, and I was speaking my blog post and then realized, oh, this needs to be a podcast. Like this actually needs to be turned into a podcast, because then I also saw people making money with podcasts. So that was like clue number 2, like you're not a great writer, you speak better, and people are actually making money whenever they have their podcast, probably way faster. And the other thing with blogging was everyone was just monetizing through AdSense. Everyone was just like Google AdSense. You got to get a ton of traffic. You got to do keyword stuffing and all these things that people were doing that were, it's not like it's illegal, but they're definitely not great ways for you to have a ton of traffic to your website. So if you've ever been in a website that has a bajillion pop-ups, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I needed clarity. And so what I really needed was a coach. I needed a business coach. And at the time, Amy Porterfield was the person that I trusted the most. And so to see Amy and Marie team up, and Amy was an affiliate for B School at the time, and she had this incredible package that allowed, coaching sessions and hot seats. And I was like, okay, I'm getting 2 incredible experts for the price of one. Yes, I'm going to do this. And so that was really the game changer for me. So I'd been following Amy for a few years, probably about the same amount of time that I've been following Marie. And her hot seat coaching was it's why we're sitting here today. And I've shared this picture so many times that I have of Amy and I in our coaching session. And I was sweating so bad. I was sweating, like, oh my gosh, like my heart was pounding. I was like, my palms are sweaty. I was just like, oh my gosh, like I'm about to speak to Amy Porterfield. I'm going to sound like such an idiot. Like so many things running through my head. But it was in that coaching session. And it's so funny because I have peers that I'm friends with that are like, I still remember your coaching session with Amy, and she told you to go all in on podcasting and to be the voice in podcasting in your industry. And it's the moment that changed everything. And I know most people can't say that everything boiled down to one singular moment. I can. Everything that has happened in my business boils down to this one coaching session that I had with Amy, where she challenged me. She pushed me out of my comfort zone to go all in on podcasting. And it was through this B School coaching call. And I mean, I haven't looked back. So I got clarity, right? That's why I enrolled. I was looking for clarity in my business. I was looking for someone that had expertise in this industry, and it wasn't just Marie. I also had Amy, and that's like match made in heaven for me personally. And it's been a roller coaster ever since then. And it's been such a fun ride. But that's the first thing we needed to cover. The second thing is what my business looked like before B School. Little to no money. Let's just be honest, like very, very, very minimal revenue coming in. I mean, I was getting some affiliate buys from Amazon, like people clicking on links. I'm recommending books and things like that. It was very minimal. I was also didn't have any systems, and I didn't have a clear direction. Again, I was like, where am I going? It's the spaghetti against the wall. And at the time, I was barely making anything. It wasn't hundreds or thousands of dollars. Are you kidding me? Making $10,000 in a single day, that was a total pipe dream whenever I was starting my business. And maybe that's where you are today. Maybe you're listening to this and like, oh my gosh, you've made $10,000. Yes, I've made $20,000 actually in a single day. And to say that out loud, like the 2019 version of me is saying, no, you didn't. Like, that's incredible. That's amazing. And I still have that perspective of who I was before this. I had less than like 400 Instagram followers. I know that I had maybe 100 people on YouTube. Like, I think at that point you had to have at least 100 subscribers on YouTube to even get like your URL or your name. Like, you couldn't pick your @ like mine is @CrystalProfit. I couldn't even get that until I had 100 subscribers. And I don't think that I had that in 2019. And so I had a tiny email list, maybe 100 people on there, and a Facebook group that had under 200 people. It was very small, very much so where some of you are today. And that's okay. Because again, we're rolling back time. Like we're looking back into the past and saying, okay, things looked a lot different. I didn't have systems in place. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. I hadn't done a lot of like the deep work of decluttering or getting rid of a bunch of stuff or not holding on to things. Like, no. Everything was a mess. Everything was a mess. Like I can't even imagine, because I've done so much work in time management and decluttering, that I can't, like, it gives me like hives to think about how disorganized my business was before B school and all the things that I didn't know. Y'all, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I think that that's the grace that we need to extend to ourselves. So if you're there right now and you feel like it's total chaos, you don't know what you don't know, and that is okay. So don't beat yourself up too bad if you are feeling like you're stuck or you're in this place of being overwhelmed, because that's really what it was. I didn't have systems in place for funnels. I had a digital course. It was not selling. So that's another story for another day. But I wasn't even sure that my payments were set up properly to make money. This is how bad it was, y'all. I was overwhelmed and I was on information overwhelm. And I just was like trying to devour all these different pieces of content. They didn't make sense or they were contradictory. And I kept asking myself, like, am I supposed to be growing my audience? Am I supposed to be monetizing it? Do I create the product first? Who am I talking to? I just had all the questions and no one really to ask those specific questions to. So the next part of this story is really talking about the early days of B School and what that looked like in the first 30 days. Okay. Let's say I put in my credit card information from that day to the first 30 days. This is how I treated my business and B School. I showed up like I was taking a college class. I truly did. And in college and in high school, I mean, I was this person. I mean, I don't know if this is shocking to anybody, but I was the person. I was still a planner. I like to know, like, ahead of time, like, okay, I'm going to sit down. This is when quizzes are due. This is when, I have tests. This is my midterms. This is when a project's due. Like, I was that person. Like, I did plan everything out. And I set aside time to watch all of the videos and then go back and do the exercises in the fun sheets. This is what Marie calls them in B School. They're called fun sheets, and really they're PDFs. They're PDF guides to help you think through things more deeply. There's spaces to journal. There is just like all the things that you need. So you watch the videos with Marie and then you go through and do the lessons. Well, I watched all the videos. I was like, okay, I'm not even going to pause to look at the lessons. I'm just going to watch all the videos, and I would devour them because at the time, remember, I was still staying at home. I would do it at nap time, or I would do it when my son was at Mother's Day out, which he did that twice a week, and I would have a few hours. And I'm like, okay, remember, I'm showing up. This is my college course. This is my program. Like, this is my only job right now, is to understand what the heck am I going to do for this business to make it work? Because remember, my husband and I, we just made this big investment, and I was like, this is going to work. Like, I have to show up in order for this to happen. And let me tell you, Marie's energy made it so easy to keep watching. Like, I binged watched all of her content because it was easy. And then alongside that, I had Amy with accountability check-in calls and like, hey, how's your business going? Did you get through this module? What do you think about that lesson? Like, share your work. So the fun sheets, along with Amy's coaching and just taking it all seriously, really helped me show up in a big way. And I think that that's really what made all the difference in that first 30 days. And one of my biggest aha moments was going through the exercises. And I still have my fun sheets. I've shared these in previous videos. I still have my 2019 B School notebook. Yes, I printed all my fun sheets. They are all there. I have the writing. I have like everything that I put in there. And what is so awesome is I have the business I have today because I did that work in 2019 and I got so clear on who I'm serving, what I'm trying to accomplish, all the different products and services that I could do. I did all that initial brainstorming with the help of B School and Marie, like going through those exercises, that now I have this business today and it is exactly how I envisioned it back then. Sure, some pieces look a little bit different, but in the grand scheme of things, It is what I wrote down on those pieces of paper in 2019. How crazy is that? It's so like, it blows my mind when I look back at all those fun sheets. So in the first 30 days, I have to say I accomplished a lot. And in the next piece, we're talking about the biggest mindset shift. This was competing with myself. So I actually, in preparation for this episode today, I had ChatGPT. I was like, you know what? We've created episodes about B School before because I've been an affiliate for, I think this is my 4th year of promoting B School. And we've talked about the program before. We've talked about, the benefits of joining, and we told my story and all this other stuff. I was like, but ask me questions that really pull out different pieces of my story that my audience would appreciate. And this was the one. So it was the mindset shift of, oh, I'm just competing with myself. I saw the Jenna Kutchers and the Pat Flynn's and the John Lee Dumases and like the people that were, quote, like my competitors. And instead of saying, like, I was just in this constant state of comparison. I'm not good enough. I don't have a big enough audience. I don't have enough revenue. I don't have these opportunities, yada, 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 right? We all do this. I was just saying I am not enough all the time. But what happened is there's this exercise in B School where you learn to position yourself as, oh no, you're just competing with yourself. Year over year, you're not in direct comparison with these other people that, yeah, they may be on paper your competitors, but in reality, I'm just competing with myself. Therefore, I have my blinders on. I don't care what everyone else in the industry is doing because I'm just comparing my downloads to my downloads, my revenue to my revenue, my audience size compared to last year instead of what someone else is doing, because that's all I can control. I can't control what everyone else does. I can only control how I show up and how I keep serving my audience. So that mindset was huge. It was huge, and it completely changed how I position everything in my business. So that was just, if you haven't gotten there, if you're in this constant state of comparison or FOMO or whatever it is, I challenge you to just be in competition with yourself because it's the best competition there is. I love looking back again and looking at my milestones and being able to say, oh my gosh, like who knew? Who knew that you could do that? It's like I'm cheering myself on in a previous version. It's like, you go, girl. Like, that was fantastic. But also, I'm going to beat you this year. Like, I'm going to take you down because I love having that competitive spirit. But again, it's with myself. It's like I'm talking to myself. Y'all are like, oh, Crystal's really gone crazy. Well, it's fine. It's fine. I don't mind. I don't mind if you call me crazy because at the end of the day, like I said, I've built the business of my dreams, and that's pretty freaking awesome. But let's talk about the turning point. So what was the thing when everything clicked, and what was the big takeaway? So for me, I had taken a blogging course. I've talked about this before. I've talked about this many times already, where I was still stuck was understanding how all the pieces work together. I understood, okay, you write this thing, you upload it to WordPress, you put it there, you do these SEO things, yada, yada, yada. But it still didn't really make sense to me until Marie explained it. You know how when people say like, oh, like I've told, maybe your mom or your spouse or your partner or your best friend or whatever, you could tell them the same thing 17 times. But then they hear it from someone else and they're just like, oh my gosh, you would not believe, so-and-so told me, about this thing. And you're like, I've been telling you that every single day for the last 2 months, and you just decide that you're going to listen to them. Well, that's kind of what happened with me. I had been listening. I'd gone through that other blogging course and heard everything, but it was like in one ear and out the other. But when Marie explained SEO and websites and how keywords work, it was just like, magic. All of a sudden it just clicked. It made sense. I don't know why it worked the way that she broke it down, but it was like, oh, I get it now. I get it. This completely makes sense to me. So if you've had these really ambiguous things, maybe it's tech, maybe it's marketing, maybe it's email marketing, maybe it's content, like whatever pieces, your business that you're trying to figure out and it's just not sticking, I challenge you to learn from someone who you're encouraged by, who you're motivated by, because that's who Marie is to me. I was watching her Marie TV YouTube channel for a while before I ever considered joining B School. And I was like, man, she is so funny. And she is just all over the place. Like she dances, she, puts in that explicit content every once in a while where she just drops an F-bomb. And I'm like, that was so well timed. And yes, that absolutely made me more motivated than I was before she said it. And so I just loved her teaching and her style. So maybe that's why it clicked for me. But that was just something that made a really big impact. And when I think about the bigger pieces of why B School was such an impact on me personally, I was pushed out of my comfort zone. I was taught to think bigger and think about just not where I am right now, like the problems that I'm facing today, like, well, what web host should I use, or what domain should I have, or which email service provider? No. It was like, these are baby problems. Once we get these figured out, we don't need to worry about those things anymore because we're trying to climb a mountain, right? We're not just trying to go over the molehill. We're looking at the Mount Everest of businesses and saying, how are we going to scale this thing? How are we going to continue to grow? And she challenged me from the beginning to think bigger. And I think if I hadn't been pushed like that, I would still be in this small-minded mentality of like, oh, I can only make $100 a month with my content, or maybe $20 here and there from these affiliate things that I'm promoting. And I'm like, no, we're talking about $20,000 days. Like this is what we're chasing today, right? We're not looking at these little minuscule things, but that's where I was. I was trapped. I was trapped in these money mindsets. So having her really expand my reach and thinking about things bigger really helped me, and it pushed me out of my comfort zone in a really big way. But the last thing I kind of want to talk about, actually I have two more things I wanted to cover, and it's how B School helped me scale my business. So for this piece, I actually got tangible results since I took it. So I told you this has been 6 years since I initially had that catalyst moment with Amy and Marie. And to date, I've done so many awesome things. And this is where, it feels a little weird to be, bragging about what I've done. But really what this is I'm just showing you the roadmap for where I was to where I am today. So in 2019, I rebranded my podcast. It went from the Rookie Life to the Profit Podcast, which now today is in the top 1.5% of all the millions of podcasts that are out there, which I am dang proud of. I love saying that. Then in 2020, so just a year later, I wrote an Amazon best-selling book, Start a Binge-Worthy Podcast, that continues to be something that circulates and is part of my business. And I get compliments all the time. People say like, oh, I found you because of your book, and I've read your book, or I've listened to your audiobook. So that's really cool. Then in 2021, I spoke on stage at Podcast Movement for the first time, because I've actually been there more than once. And then I spoke at Podfest. I've spoken at She Podcast. I actually did all three of those in 1 year. And I spoke at Ramsey Solutions, which, y'all, this is one of those. So I don't often talk about this because it's kind of more like on the personal side. But my husband and I did Financial Peace University with Dave Ramsey. I'm trying to think. It was in 2014. So this is way back, right? This is more than a decade ago. We did Financial Peace University, and we just became super fans of all the things that he taught. And from then we had been like, I'd met Chris Hogan, who was talking about retirement stuff. I'd met him in person at a book signing. I have met George Camel, Rachel Cruz, John Deloney, Christy Wright, like all of these people that were part of the Ramsey Solutions team. I had the opportunity to go there and meet them. And I know I have some content, and we'll link to it in the show notes about how this opportunity came about. But basically I received an email that I was for sure that it was spam. I was like, somebody is trying to get me to click on links here. I'm not going to do that, because I was invited to come speak at their conference for influencers, which was around 100 to 150 people. It was a very small group. And we got to speak on stage, and I ended up being a top 10 speaker at a Ramsey Solution event. Y'all, this was never on my radar when I wrote all of these hopes and dreams down for B School in 2019. Never would I thought that 2 years later, I would be on stage in front of Dave Ramsey's whole team speaking on stage. That's wild to me. That's wild. And then, so those are like the big highlights, the smaller things that impact me day to day today. I have 2 part-time employees. They're contractors that work for me. And if you'd have told me again in 2019, you're going to have people that work for you, I'm going to be like, what? What are you talking about? And I've built partnerships with brands like Kit, Buzzsprout, Riverside, Amy Porterfield. I've gone on to, be an affiliate for Amy and her programs. I've hosted book signing events for her, and I have just done so many fun collaborations and partnerships with Amy. I've taught in her momentum community. And I've just had some leaders like Amy and Marie. We've had Kelly Roach on the show. We've had Steph Taylor. I feel like I'm still just getting started. Again, going back to thinking bigger, I can sit here and celebrate all these milestones and also say, y'all, I'm just getting started. I never would have had that mentality 6 or 7 years ago because I was just so stuck in how do I even get started? What does this even look like? So I'm here to tell you that taking those baby steps can continue to snowball and funnel into the next thing, into things that you never even imagined would happen. Y'all, I never thought I would travel to Scottsdale, Arizona to speak on the She podcast stage. I never thought I would go to Nashville multiple times in 1 year, have the opportunity to speak on the podcast movement stage and talk to Mark Cuban because he was there and I got to ask him a question. What? That was not on my bingo card, right? That was going to happen. Or go to Vegas to speak at Podcast Movement Evolutions. And I mean, it's so crazy to me, the things that have happened. But I'll wrap up in saying, I go back through B School every single year. And that is intentional. That is by design. I go back through when I have affiliates that join B School through me. And we go back and revisit every single piece of it. We're like, okay, this is the thing that made all the difference. Pay attention to this here. Here's why I got stuck. Here's where, let's avoid those mistakes. Or do you have questions on this? So there's a reason why I go back because it's timeless. It's content that you need to be refreshed on at least once a year. And so I go back through it. It's the basics. It's the building blocks of my business to this day. I go back and I look at, hey, I need to update this stuff on my website. I forgot about this because it's been over a year. So let me go back and zhuzh it up a little bit, or let me revisit my welcome sequence for my emails, or let me look at other opportunities or collaborations that I had forgot about, but I wrote them down, but let's look at them again. So B School is it's a smart investment if you are looking to not just create content, because I know some of you are like, Crystal, you've been talking about this, but I'm just a podcaster. I just want to be a YouTuber. I just want to do this. I'm talking to those of you that want to have a business. Like you want to create a business out of your podcast, out of your YouTube content, out of whatever course that you're creating, out of your coaching business. Like B School has so many of those elements that can really make a big impact on everything that you're thinking about. And it can help you really attract those things that you don't even know are in the recesses of your brain as dreams, because that's how I feel. There's just been things that have come to the surface that I just never even thought I would be able to stand there and meet Dave Ramsey and shake his hand and sit behind the little desk that they have there at Ramsey Studios and be able to say, this is really cool to be here. Never in my wildest dreams was that on my radar, or that my business would pay for all of those expenses to go out there to all of these. So that's another perk we didn't even talk about is what has my business been able to afford my family and the different things that we've been able to do because I got started. It's been incredible. I'm so grateful for B School and the things that I've been able to do. But I encourage you to check it out. I really do. If you are an alumni of B School, again, I want to hear from you. Send me a DM, send me an email, a reply to one of our emails if you're on our email list, because I want to know, what have you found most helpful? I would love to share it in an upcoming email and an upcoming, dynamic content that we share on the podcast. We're always putting out podcast ads. I would love to share maybe your specific story to tell other people. Y'all, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of success stories through B School, which is so incredible. So I want you to go check it out. I want you to go to crystalprofit.com/B School, and you're going to find all the information about what our affiliate package looks like. Depending on when you're listening this, B School enrollment may actually not even be open. It doesn't open until February 13th, but Marie is doing a free training when this episode airs. It's called the Dream Business Bootcamp. So if you want to learn from Marie, you want to learn about Marie, then you're going to find a link to that. It's also crystalprofit.com/DBB for Dream Business Bootcamp. And I can't wait for you to just experience Marie in the way that I had the opportunity to. And if you're interested in learning from me, if you want me to be your Amy and give you that hot seat coaching, give you that one-on-one feedback, I would love to see you in our cohort for 2025 and see what you can do with your business and your content. But I'm going to link to, we actually have previous interviews that I did. I did a strategy coaching call that we aired in 2023. I'm going to link to that. We did the 2 interviews with Marie. So those are already fun. Those are already podcast episodes and YouTube videos that you can go back and watch if you want to know more about Marie. And I also get this question a lot, like, well, Crystal, should I do Marie Forleo's B School or should I do DCA with Amy Porterfield? I get this question all the time. So I created a video about it. I should probably update it. I mean, it's still the same. It's the same advice that I would give. But if you want to know, like, well, which one, I only have so much budget, which one should I buy? That video is going to be super helpful for you. So my call to action for you today is to think about, what are the ways that you are going to invest in your business this year, right? It's that old adage of you got to spend money to make money. But for me, I like to adapt it and say you got to invest in yourself if you want to see the outcome of the person that you are going to be, right? It's the person that you are becoming. What's holding you back? What's holding you back from doing that? Because one thing I didn't even share is when I made this investment in B School, I made my money back in less than 6 months, which was shocking to me and my husband. He was like, whoa, like we already paid all that off. I was like, yeah, like it's done. Like we made that back. Like that money, like it was gone for a second and now it's back and some. Like I actually made some more money after that initial investment. So I can tell you, I made a return on my investment, and I believe that you can too if you can show up. You can really do the work. And again, treat it like it's a college class. Treat it like it's the thing that's going to help you in your business, because I think that it really, truly can. So go to crystalprofit.com/DBB to register for Dream Business Bootcamp, and crystalprofit.com/B School to learn all about my program. And we also have a special alumni package that's listed on the B School page too. So go check that out. If you are an alumni, I do have something very special for you. You don't have to have joined through me previously in the past. So if you join with Amy, you join with someone else, that's awesome. Like, we just want to know if we can help support you in your 2025 business. But y'all, that's all I have for you today. I knew this was going to be a heavy episode because I had so many stories to share and I was so excited to share them with you. So thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for being on this journey with me. And if this is your first time hanging out with us, woo, what a ride, right? What an episode to join us. But make sure you hit that follow and subscribe button. Always remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere.